Hey, Al.
Good morning, Lauren.
Hey, how are you?
How's everybody at your place getting along?
We're okay.
Yeah?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm on now.
Is Bruce with us yet?
Looks like he's logged in, but I don't know if he's actually.
Alrighty.
Yeah.
When's the last time you were at town campus?
I've been every Monday, Wednesday.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What's it like?
Quiet.
Just the way you like it?
Yeah.
Are we going to be talking about the reactivation plan this morning?
Yeah. We'll talk
Okay.
about that. We'll touch on that.
I'll save all my questions then. You send out two invites, Lauren. Is one just for the panelists and the others for other attendees?
Yeah, so the way it works is Zoom, if I add you as a panelist, Zoom sends you like a separate email with your personalized panelist link, but then I also send you guys a calendar invite with that general invite, just in case you can't find the panelist one. If you sign on as an attendee, I can still transfer you over to being a panelist. And that's also the one that's in the calendar invite, is the one that you can share with other people.
I see. And that a calendar invite should post automatically to a calendar?
It should go to, yeah, it should go if you have an email
Outlook
account that
calendar.
syncs with Outlook, yeah.
Yeah, okay. I think it did. I, of course, use a different calendar, but it's okay. Hey, Bruce.
Morning.
It is a good morning.
I'm just heating up a cup of coffee, so.
Well, maybe this meeting doesn't look that long this morning, does it?
Don't jinx it.
Yeah. I see. I rode by one of the beach parking lots yesterday afternoon, and there was hardly anybody there.
Hold on, I'm transferring you.
Good morning, Peggy.
Good morning. Yep.
Peggy, I think you're muted.
There we go.
There we are. Good morning.
You know what? I'm gonna fix these blinds because it's.
Morning, Scott.
Morning. You guys
Good
hear me?
morning. Yes. A little better. Can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
It's Erin.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep, we can hear you.
I'm in the car. I'm going to transfer. Once I get to my office, I'm going to transfer over to my computer.
All good.
but I didn't want to hold you up. I didn't want to be late.
Okay. Good morning, Erin.
Good morning. How was your Mother's Day?
It was nice. It was nice. Okay, so I guess should we start then?
Sure.
All right, great. We'll all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. And got a flag. I pledge allegiance to
To the
the flag of the United
United
States
States
of
of
America and
and
to the
to the
republic
republic for which it stands,
And
One nation,
one
nation,
nation,
under God.
under God,
God,
indivisible,
with liberty
liberty and
justice
justice
for all.
for
justice
all.
for all.
Okay.
I find that very hard to do, by the way.
Good morning, everybody. No, there's definitely a lot of back noises.
That's
I
my
follow
fault, I
somebody
think.
and it never works
Sorry.
out.
Yeah. All right, I'm just going to do a screen share here real quick. And talk about our meeting. So there we go. Great. Well, good morning, everybody. Here for our regular meeting on May 11th. We did the Pledge of Allegiance already. Let's move on to agenda item number 2, approval of the minutes for April 27th, 2020. May I have a
So
motion?
moved.
Great.
Second,
All right, discussion, any changes? Nope, okay, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. Great, okay, minutes approved. Next item is for Selectwoman's update. And just real quickly, the budget for the fiscal 2020-21 was approved last week by the Board of Finance. And they also set the mill rate. The overall budget increase was 2.18%. And it reflects some reductions that were taken from the budgets that were originally recommended by both the Board of Education and the town back in February. And obviously to be reflective of the economy, there was some adjustments made coordinating with the different boards. This budget results in no tax increases for most Madison property owners, so it's a flat mill rate. Tax bills are will be sent out in June as normal, but you have an extension because of the deferral that the Board of Selectmen approved, so that you can pay your taxes without penalty by October 1st. Normally they would be due by August 1st. So there's a little time and flexibility there.
I think for the taxpayers too, and I don't know, maybe Bruce, this is something you can explain, but given that the budget is going up, but we're not having a tax increase, can we explain how that actually works? Do we know?
Well, the mill rate is set by a couple of different components. There's the actual budget, and then there's a revenue forecast. And some of that revenue forecast includes the Island Avenue lease, which we voted on at our last meeting. And then it also reflects any funding that the Board of Finance chooses to take from the undesignated fund balance, which is kind of our rainy day fund.
Right. And the other moving part of that is the organic growth in the grad list.
And an assumption for the grand lift as well. So there's all those factors that go into it, and they come up with what they feel is the right amount to tax people for to cover all our expenses and maintain the financial health of the town. So there's always a little forecasting required as anytime you do budgeting. But I also think the town has a very long track record of being pretty close to its forecasts. So we do have a little bit more unpredictability this year possibly, but I think that overall, if we look back historically, we tend to do quite well and come in close to what we're budgeting for anyway. So, so that's kind of what goes into setting the actual mill rate.
Thank you.
Yep. And just to highlight that boards and commissions, besides the elected boards, are starting to meet now. So if people are interested in following other boards and commissions, those are scheduled on the town website, and they'll operate similar to how we're operating now through Zoom. And then you can also watch these later once they're recorded. And Interestingly enough, I was able to find on YouTube our Board of Selectmen meetings. So they are easy to find if you Google them. If you can't get up at 8 o'clock in the morning to watch these, they are available on YouTube under just Google Madison Board of Selectmen. So on YouTube. In terms of town operations, just hold on one second. I'm going to close my door here. So. Sorry, I got conversations going on in the hallway. And speaking of, so town employees have been reporting to town hall these last couple of weeks on a rotating basis. And starting next week, they'll be, everybody will be reporting to their town facilities, on a regular basis. So right now we've been kind of doing 2 days a week. People will go up to 5 days a week starting next week with some flexibility to work remotely when needed. So, obviously different employees, similar to anybody in our community, there's childcare issues, there's health concerns, but we're trying to get as many employees back to kind of a normal working schedule as possible. And town hall and some of our facilities, like the senior center, were targeted to open to the public starting the week of May 26th, but that would be on an appointment only basis. And we're going to be evaluating this policy over the next 2 weeks because the governor has put out some more additional guidelines about how, businesses should be operating after May 20th. And we're going to review our policies and make sure we're in line, but we're hoping that we can at least start offering appointment only options for the public for town services. Although I will say that people have been getting, I think, a vast majority of their work completed via telephone, email, and online. The bulky waste site, which is the stump dump, has been open the last few weeks to residents only. We're going to start allowing contractors in by May 26th. And we're going to review a possible new payment option for that to avoid any kind of interaction between the contractors and the person at the gate. Working on regulatory guidelines for businesses that are allowed to reopen in May, and that there'll be something we talk a little bit more later in this meeting about the long-term recovery committee. And then I'm also intending to sit down with senior staff towards the end of May to start reviewing their 2021 budgets and looking at spending priorities, because I think originally when these budgets were put together back in December, we were looking at very different world and different priorities, and how we do our work was different possibly. So I think, especially in some of the larger departments that have a lot of projects going on, it's important to sit down and say, okay, should our priorities be changing? Now that we have a budget to work with, how should we be spending our time and focusing, and how can we do things differently? So that process will start towards the end of this month, so that when the new fiscal year starts, we have a plan that we're, ready to go, so to speak, in this new world. And then I've been coordinating with the whole emergency operations team has been coordinating with the chamber and different civic groups about different summer events. Obviously, Madison's a great place to be during the summer, and we have a lot of things going on. Unfortunately, those things tend to be larger gatherings. So the Memorial Day parade has already been canceled, but I am working with the American Legion to offer a type of virtual event. And so more details will be coming out on that by the end of this week. And we had a discussion this week with the different groups that sponsor 4th of July activities. And I think it was unanimous agreement that it would to postpone both the fireworks, the parade, and the concert on the green, which I know the concert had been canceled a few weeks ago. So those 3 major events, we're hoping to move to Labor Day weekend. The different civic groups that sponsor those are looking at whether or not that's feasible for them. But I think the hope was that we could just basically move 4th of July to Labor Day, which is also going to be subject to, the environment that we'll be in. But at least we could make a decision about that, in early August. It gives us more time. So we're hopeful to have something. I know we all love 4th of July here. And so, hopefully we can do that all on Labor Day. And then there's just other events going on. I know Eileen's joined us and she can talk a little bit more about that, but antique fairs and other things that happen throughout our community during the summer, and people are starting to make some decisions about cancellations or postponements. So we'll try to keep the public as up to speed on those as possible. So going back to, that's it for my update. Let's go on to Selectmen liaison reports. Anybody have something they need to share with the board?
I have our first Madison Youth and Family meeting coming up on Tuesday, so we'll have a report the next time, but excited to get the band back together.
Great.
Yeah. Same with Senior Commission on Thursday.
Okay, great.
We'll be meeting. I was at a planning and zoning meeting last week where they approved a new public access kayak launch on Boston Post Road. So that was kind of exciting as people are getting outside more and looking for outdoor activities.
Is that up by the, Aaron, is that up by the ice hut, like over there? Is that the kayak launch?
No,
Yes.
Yes. The ice, yes, where they rent the kayaks.
yeah, then that's going to be a beach and rec managed.
That's what I thought.
Well, they talked about it for a while. I know at Salt Meadow itself,
Right.
some issues with it. So this was kind of a second option, and it's great that it's moving forward. So
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think it's nice. And
Peggy,
then
I'm
there's a
pleased.
meeting.
Peggy, I'm pleased to report that the
I don't think
I
he's
think,
done.
liaison
Al,
too.
Al,
Oh,
Al.
I
Aaron's
don't think
not done
Aaron
yet.
was quite finished. Sorry.
I just had one more thing about planning and zoning. There's a meeting on the 21st to discuss approval of a application for an outpatient psychiatric facility at 503 Old Toll Road in Madison, which is across from Roberts. I know there's been some interest in that on Facebook, so wanted to put that out there for people.
Wait, this is a, what was it? Sorry.
An outpatient psychiatric facility.
Oh,
It's an
okay.
outpatient outpatient mental health clinic.
Okay. Okay, great.
I'm done.
Al, you're done?
Take it away, Al.
All right, Al, you're up.
I'm pleased the committees that I liaison to are all getting ready to start up again. Pension, the Island Avenue Committee, the Police Commission, the Salt Meadow Park, the Government Studies, and the Resiliency Commission. They're all getting ready to start up again.
That's good to hear. I was curious, Scott, any updates from the library? Are they still targeting July 1st?
Currently, yeah, with a soft opening, I believe,
Well,
but with a complete recognition that there may be some changes, so.
okay, great. Bruce, do you have any updates?
No, I missed the Beach and Rec meeting. I attended the Board of Finance meeting where they set the mill rate, but I know that Scott will be giving his update a little bit later on here, so.
Okay, great. All right, so we'll move on then. Any citizens' comments, Lauren?
So for any citizens that are joining the meeting today, you can make comment now by raising your hand. If you have a comment to make, I will transfer you over to speaking. When you are allowed to speak, please unmute yourself, state your first and last name, and your address for the record. We have one resident with their hand raised. Go ahead, Maureen.
I'm Maureen Lopes from 25 Old Farms Road. Good morning, everyone. It's nice to be able to attend these meetings in my slippers. One of the things I wanted to suggest going forward, maybe specifically to Peggy, we're getting almost every other day the emergency updates. And the good news is I think there aren't dramatic changes now, and maybe we don't need them so obviously at dinner time. But what I find lacking is a context for these things. So at least once you've said that a large proportion of, unfortunately, the deaths in Madison were in the nursing homes, the facilities here in town, which it's very unfortunate. It's happening across the state, but that makes a difference to me as a senior following the rules and everything. It feels less dangerous in general for me, not that I would change my behavior. And I'd like to hear more about, and maybe after the next meeting, Bruce will go to with, or the youth, family and youth services. I don't really have a sense of, has been a dramatic change in the number of people seeking help. You know, I'm very concerned about what often seems like hidden disaster or whatever for people in Madison. I can get a lot of news out of New Haven about how it's affecting, but I feel really cut off to where the need is in Madison. So maybe some of that could be incorporated once in a while. So, you know, I'm reassured that the senior center and other places are working hard, but I guess I'm just really still concerned. Things can't be that good. So I'd rather know about them and know, even if I can plan for the future where my, when I can volunteer again, where my efforts might be well spent, I appreciate it. Thanks, Peggy.
Thank you, Maureen. And I'll just make one quick comment that, you know, we had actually Scott Cochran present our last meeting, which was now 2 weeks ago, to talk a little bit about that and what they've seen in terms of community and increases and so, but to your point, you know, just providing more information out there. Plus, I'm only going weekly now, not 3 times a week in terms of my emergency updates. So starting this week, it'll be on Wednesdays only because I know people are getting a little weary of them. So anyways, go on, Lauren, with public comment.
Okay, we have one more hand raised from Kevin Schroeder. Kevin, I'm going to allow you to talk now. Unmute yourself, state your name and address, please.
He's still muted.
See if it'll let me. There we go.
Good morning. This is Kevin Schroeder, Johnson Lane, 29 Johnson Lane. I hope I've unmuted myself.
You are.
Wonderful. I'm participating in this morning's Zoom meeting mostly out of curiosity and also an interest to know what my local government's doing during the pandemic, something I commented on the last time I participated. And the only reason I raised my hand to make a comment was to relay to you that although I'm fairly sophisticated with computers, this was extremely difficult for me to access. I don't think the town website is particularly clear, and maybe the town could do a better job of enabling the citizens to participate in the meetings. Thank you.
Okay. I think it is really hard sometimes. The link is on the agenda, but it's sometimes hard to find that. And I think we need to have something more prominent, maybe, you know, put on the front page of the website so people can just click a box, you know, right before the meetings or something. But thank you for your thoughts.
Peggy, if I can just interject, there is something on the front page of the website. There's a big box that says how to join online meetings. And if you click on it, it walks you through a PowerPoint with screenshots and arrows and tells you exactly where to find all the information. So maybe in one of our upcoming updates, we can give that information out again on where to find that nice PowerPoint that the webmaster made for the residents.
Okay, great, thanks.
Well, maybe Kevin could connect with Lauren and say, you know, exactly what the issue was about getting in to make sure that we address it.
Well, and I think that what I find, you know, and I keep making Rita, our webmaster, who does a great job and is working very hard on this, I keep having her add big buttons on the front page. And so it's almost like if we could have like a big button on the front page that says today's meeting, click, and it takes you right to it. But, you know, we have a lot of, you know, urgent things that we're trying to get out to the community right now, but it's worth discussing because there's a lot of helpful information about how to access stuff. But I know nowadays people are busy and they just want to point and click and just be there immediately. So we can try to look at ways to streamline it, at least on the day that we're holding the meeting, maybe. And then, you know, we'll talk more about that though. But it is, we have a lot on the website right now. So there's a lot of things that are urgent that we're trying to get out. Any other public comment, Lauren? No? Okay.
I think Eileen is trying to talk about something.
Yep.
I saw her put her hand up.
Go ahead, Eileen.
I just have a question because we've gotten a couple of calls to the chamber about the Sunday night concerts, and I'm assuming that Scott Erskine will be addressing that later this meeting, but do you know yet if they will be taking place either by people sitting in their cars or by social distancing? The Green is a pretty big place, and I think people could be spread out and will perhaps be looking for something to do if it can be done safely. Just my comment.
Yeah, we'll when we get to Beach and Rec, that's the next step. That'll be one of the things we can talk about because we've had some discussions about it. Any other citizen comments? No? All right, I'll go back. And is Scott Erskine on? Do you want to elevate him to a
I'm
panel?
transferring him right now.
And then I'm going to do a screen share again. Where is share screen? Go back to my slides. All right. Okay.
Ooh.
There we go. Okay. You know, Scott, I don't know if you want to just really quickly touch on, you know, the different facilities. We're obviously kind of in transition mode, trying to reopen some of our town facilities. Some have been open for a while and others we're trying to get to a point where we can reopen them. So I don't know if you just want to walk through where we are in some of these.
Sure. Good morning, everybody. Right now we have Bower Park. The gardens are open. We felt that the social distancing would be able to be taken place because they're 20 by 20 plots. People usually stay away from each other anyway. The classroom is closed still, but people can go and enjoy the trails in the fields as a lot are. They're walking their dogs. So that's open. The beaches have been open, and we are guarding the gates on weekends to residents only. People need to show a driver's license that has a Madison address or proof that they pay taxes to the town of Madison. We let them in to try to reduce the overcrowding that we experienced when the warm weather really hit. This past weekend, it was a little cool down there, stiff breeze. So the crowds really were low, especially on Saturday. It was real bad. We have all the fields still closed. We are maintaining them. They're closed to organized sports. Some people have taken their kids, you know, down to like town campus and they're kicking the ball around, or over to Salt Meadow, which we don't really have a problem. It's the organized aspect where there's more than 5 people. So we've been trying to keep those closed. Playgrounds are all still closed. We've fenced them, both Academy and Surf Club off. And whenever we go to reopen, everything will be put back in place. Salt Meadow, we have it open Monday through Friday. And I close the gate on Friday nights, and we reopen on Monday morning, and that's to help defray people from searching out Salt Meadow if the state park is closed, to try to keep the overflow going to the state park and inundating our park. We're working on the farmers market. As Peggy has listed, instead of being on the green, they're going to be doing pickups on Friday evenings at Salt Meadow. They're working on a plan for that where you pre-order your produce. Many people have asked about the tennis courts because some of the towns have been open or now reopened. It is the EOC health decision right now that we want to open up May 20th, and that would be for singles play only, not doubles, and there would be no pickleball because pickleball is a doubles sport as well. And basically that is due to, even though you are social distancing, you're handling a ball, and that could transfer things from one person to the other as far as the coronavirus. People don't understand that. That's why we have the basketball courts closed, and whatnot. So we're working on that, but they will reopen both here and at Polson on the 20th. And the gym still remains closed for the time being. We've been taking in beach pass applications, and we've been processing them as fast as we can and getting them back out in the mail. So there is a delay. We will open up the surf club office starting May 26th, 7 days a week for in-person sales, which is people will go to the surf club porch and they will be filling out paperwork and they can hand it through a window. They will not be coming inside the building. It's kind of a service window that we've created, and we think it'll work well. And then we're targeting June 1st. We're working hard on getting online sales, which will be people will buy the pass online, and then we will recreate their receipt, process their tags, and get them off in the mail. And we're still figuring out the minute details, whether it'll be a will call envelope at the gates or at the surf club office, or even here when we start to allow public on a regular basis where they just come in and pick up. But we're still talking about that, figuring out everything else. Our June programs are canceled, and we are working on July and August, what we can do within the guidelines, keeping it small classes. We're working on trying to develop a way to hold summer escape with small groups in different locations at the surf club. We do have the 2 field houses that we can use as locations for 10 kids each, as well as the surf club main room and the side room of the surf club, but we don't know how that one's going to work yet, but we're working on that. But I want people to keep on looking on the website because as we open up programs, they will be available online for registration. And that being said, we are almost ready to launch our new website process, where it is a reactive screen, should be very user-friendly as far as searches go. It's got a real nice look, and I hope you all like it. We put a lot of effort in it, and I think the results are going to be positive within the community. Eileen had mentioned summer concert series. What we have been researching, and it seems to be spreading, is having our concerts in-car concerts where people would park in a parking lot. We would have the band and we would broadcast the music, but people would stay in their cars. We're looking at possibly moving it down to the surf club, big lot on Sunday evenings. We would go, instead of 6 to 8, we'd be probably going 5 to 7, but I'm still working with Peggy on that as far as the details of how we can go about making it safe, and as well as Trent Joseph for social distancing, what have you.
Yeah, that was one where I have on here postponed, in the sense we talked about just postponing it to July only or August only. But then I know Scott's been working on some other creative ideas. So, and then also the movies. I know people had commented, I'd seen in different places about doing drive-in movies at the surf club or Salt Meadow. And so Beach and Rec is exploring that option as well. So I guess postponed is probably not the right word on here. Summer concert series postponed, where we're just reevaluating it and seeing how we can offer it in a safe way.
Right. Now, I can't see the bottom part after your screen. If there's any more on this page, Peggy, I'm not sure.
No, that's it. Okay. Those are all the highlights, Scott. I appreciate it. Go ahead.
Question, Scott. So, and maybe you said this, but the state is putting out their guidelines about summer camps, right? Is it this week that we're expecting that?
They put something out last week, and I think we're getting something else this week, but we're trying to follow what their protocols.
Okay,
from
so
OEC.
we're essentially waiting for kind of what they come out with.
Correct. We believe we can go up to 30 without
Okay.
applying for an additional permit. And that is just, if you put in the application, the state actually calls us and goes over our plans for sanitation,
Mhm.
sensitization, and distancing and safety precautions and the locations.
Okay.
From that's what we understand anyway. But we'll
Got
be
it.
exploring that.
Thank you.
Yeah, we're hoping that we can, get our programming for July and August finalized, hopefully by the end of this week or at the latest the following week. And then that would go live on the new website to register for programs. So I know Scott and his team has been working really hard too on the website, which I think people will be pleased with. It's a little more user friendly to do searches on, and it looks really nice. So that'll be a nice addition if people can sign up for new programs. And then hopefully the first week of June, buy your beach pass online as well. Unfortunately, when we do, people really wanted those stickers. So the beach pass is what you're doing is you're filling out the application and paying for it, but it still has to be mailed to you because it's a physical document, sticker. And then he's also looking at options where you can just pick it up at the beach rather than getting it mailed to you. So we're kind of trying to iron out some of those details. Any questions, folks? Anybody else?
What was maybe just explain more for the public, but the rationale for the June 20th stickers as opposed to earlier pre-Memorial Day? Is it COVID related or is it?
Well, it's because, I think we felt it was tough to require people to have stickers when it's a labor intensive process to get a sticker. You can't come to town hall. Normally they'd be selling them in town hall starting May 1st. So people would come and be able to walk in and get them, but there's no easy way to get them before Memorial Day. It's a delay factor of you sending in an application and you getting the sticker in the mail. So, you're talking 5 to 10 days possibly. And June 20th is also the weekend, the starting point of when we start staffing with lifeguards. Historically, the town has done, starting Memorial Day weekend up to when school gets out, they would have lifeguards weekends only. And we just opted, and this was a decision a couple weeks ago, because we just had to kind of put some stakes in the ground that we would just start the lifeguarding June 20th. So I think not having easy accessibility to getting stickers, I just figured we'd start with the June 20th date when everything was fully staffed. If this online goes well, and we see a lot of stickers being bought late May, early June, we could possibly move that date up. But as it is right now, we know that you can't get onto the indoor beaches on the weekends anyway without showing some sort of ID as a resident. So there is at least an ability. I know people were concerned with June 20th about having the beaches overcrowded. But by, moving into this weekends residents only program, that will keep down the numbers as well in terms of crowding.
Peggy, is it too soon to know what restrictions will still be in place for the beaches on June 20th?
I think so. Governor Lamont had mentioned that even if after May 20th, there's still going to be social distancing of 5 or less. So that's going to be very tricky because right now I think the reason we have a lot of the parking lot closed off is to allow an environment that you can social distance. But the demand hasn't been as high because the weather hasn't been great. Obviously, as we get into June and the weather's warmer, people are eager to get outside. It's going to be a balancing act. I think we hope to start opening up more parking spots at the Surf Club Memorial Day weekend. But we're not going to have all the parking lot open still because I just don't see how we can maintain. I mean, you could have up to 1,000 people at the Surf Club if you have all the spots opened. And how you expect people to be socially distanced in that park with those numbers is very difficult. So this is going to be a balancing act over the next couple of weeks to a month. And then hopefully the governor will give a little bit more guidance, you know. I don't think anything's been set in stone yet.
Are we proceeding with the hiring of lifeguards?
Yes.
Yeah, our intention is to have lifeguards. You know, that's our hope. And we just got to kind of keep moving forward. You know, we're also looking at what Hammonasset's doing, and they haven't necessarily made any definitive statements either. I think the governor all along has wanted to keep the beaches open. So this will be a big topic as the weather warms. And, you know, he's also coordinating with New York, Rhode Island, New Jersey. So we'll see. I mean, our beach situations are a little different. You know, we don't have the large beaches as much as, you know, New York and New Jersey have, and Rhode Island has. But, you know, Hammonasset is our largest, I think, in terms of, you know, actual beach area. So it's going to be a balancing act. And we just
Peggy, remind me too, what's the situation with gate guards too? When is that going into effect? Is that just on weekends? Is that?
Well, with the new policy of residents only, we're staffing the gates on the weekend, Saturday and Sunday now. And I went down this weekend, and Scott, you did a good job at getting everybody there and working. And there's signage already explaining what you need to show on the weekends to demonstrate you're a resident. It was cold. I brought them hot chocolate. It was really cold. I didn't go Saturday. Saturday was probably colder. Sunday was cold though, with the wind, especially at West Wharf. So, you know, but so that the intention is the gate guards are going to be there every weekend. And then starting June 20th, the staffing model that was approved by the Board of Finance was 5 days a week lifeguards and gate guards. So it'll be Tuesday through Sunday. Originally, the hope was to have 7 days a week, but I think given budget constraints and just discussions operationally, 5 days a week, I think is adequate. I mean, based on traffic volumes, right, Scott? I mean, really Monday and Tuesdays are pretty quiet.
Yeah. Yeah, I think your next slide would help, Peggy.
Oh yeah, I forgot we've got more. Okay, yeah, moving on. Here we go.
Oh, there you go.
Answers to your questions, Scott.
I forgot I put this stuff in here. We updated these from the Beach and Rec presentation that was done in February, or early March. So this is the schedule now.
It's showing Wednesday through Sunday though, not Tuesday through Sunday.
I'm sorry. Well, Monday and Tuesday closed.
Monday, Tuesday would be closed.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And so this will be, hours will be posted on the website. I don't know if we've gotten everything up front on the website yet, but so this gives the public an idea.
All subject to change.
And yeah, so as always.
Yeah.
But I think if everything holds true now, this is what we should be able to offer the public. You know, and there's just going to be a lot of decisions about how many parking spots, do we put the picnic tables out? M&J is opening up, you know, starting next week for takeout at the restaurant there. You know, now with the new rules after May 20th, there can be some outdoor seating for his restaurant, but I think we're still going to be holding back the picnic tables with, and the idea being there's just discouraging large gatherings. You put the picnic tables out, you tend to get larger groups of people, you know, so it's going to be a balancing act. And I think, I just ask the public to be respectful that, you know, we need to still, operate in a safe manner, you know, enjoy our facilities. We want people to be able to get outside and enjoy the sunshine and enjoy the beach. But, you know, we do need people to follow the directives of the governor. So I think if the social distancing still holds on after May 20th, it's going to be tough once the weather gets warmer. So more thought is going to have to go into what we do. And then I think the next slide is the just the pricing to remind people. This was passed by the Beach and Rec Commission, and I think the Board of Selectmen also voted on it. Earlier this year, we maintained the pricing similar to last year. The guests, the non-resident passes went up, and then we won't be selling any of those through July 31st on weekends. But during the week, you will need a non-resident daily pass starting June 20th when we start manning the gates there. So you can have people, you know, come to the surf club during the week, but they would have to buy a guest pass. And this is just the structure. The residence pricing is similar to what we've had in previous years. And I think that's it, right?
Yep.
Yes. Okay, good. All right. Any more questions for Scott or the beaches at this stage? And I think we'll try to maybe do this at all our meetings and as things evolve, you know, giving a little quick update on Beach and Rec, because it's such an important part of obviously our summer here in Madison and just our community. And we're entering into that time when everybody wants to be able to enjoy all our facilities. We good?
Quick question, Peggy. I'm just referring to the chart that was just up on the screen. The beach, I understand no gate guards, no lifeguards on Mondays and Tuesdays, but are the beach parking lots open? Can people go on Monday and Tuesday between now and June 20th?
Yes. Yeah. No, everything is open. We're just not going to be monitoring the gates on Monday and Tuesdays.
All right, thank you.
And that was just a kind of a cost saving. We kind of looked at how many guest passes did we actually sell during the week, and it's so minimal, to be honest. It's mostly weekends, so it didn't cover the cost of staffing those, and so Scott picked those 2 days.
Okay, thank you.
The lowest volume. Okay, great. So ready to move on? Thank you, Scott, very much. Appreciate it.
Have a great day, guys.
Hi, Scott.
Thanks, Scott.
So the next item on the agenda is just renewing every 21 days, the declaration of emergency preparedness, local civil preparedness emergency for an additional 21-day period from May 19th to June 9th. May I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second?
Okay. Any discussion? This is just this rolling forward 21-day period again. We're a little early, but since we don't have a meeting closer to May 19th or immediately after, we just, we're going to approve it now.
So I do have a question. We've been doing this, and I mean, I think we're doing the right thing here. I don't object to this motion, but at what point do we start to transition into some sort of new normal operating mode that isn't an emergency mode? Have we thought about what it looks like to emerge from this and get back to whatever the new normal is going to look like?
Well, right now we're basically mirroring what the governor's doing, and his expires September 9th, I think is the date. And we're still under a federal, I think a federal emergency declaration. So we're pretty much mirroring the state right now. Is there a time when we feel that we wouldn't need to operate under a local emergency? Possibly. I think right now, though, there's still executive orders coming out that just are changing how we function on a day-to-day basis. You know, this declaration allows some policy flexibility that we might not have had before. For example, with the beaches that we're doing right now as a public health and safety issue, that policy probably wouldn't be able to be implemented unless we were under this local health emergency. You know, I would envision us being through this the end of June and possibly some time in July, but we'll see how things go. We're also still tracking expenses. For example, we've stepped up patrols and overtime on the weekends down along the beach roads because of trying to make sure people are, keeping social distancing. So there's expenses that have been involved in order to enforce the directives coming out of the state and the governor's office. I don't.
And I'm not trying to suggest this is the wrong thing to do.
Oh, no, I understand. I don't know, to be honest. I mean, it was funny. A couple of weeks ago, I thought this was going to end May 20th, but now I'm learning this is going to be an ongoing thing for probably another month or two. And the end date right now, based on the governor, is, I think it's September 9th, right, Lauren? Do you know the exact date? I don't know if she's on.
As of right now, it is September 9th, as of right now.
Yeah. So when I attend these municipal calls, there's a lot of restrictions in place that I'm told on these municipal calls are not going to last till September 9th. So there might be, a point where the governor will pull back the state of emergency. So, but I guess that could be the target date if you're looking for that. But one would hope we wouldn't be that way. The good thing is we're doing most things more routine now, right? With our board meetings, all the boards are functioning. I'm trying to do as much through the normal meeting process now, so that we're not doing emergency stuff. But so that's kind of where we are.
All right.
All right. So I guess all in favor. Is that where we are? Yes.
Yes.
Oh, okay. All in favor of approving the local civil preparedness emergency for an additional 21-day period from May 19th to June 9th, say aye.
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 Okay, great. All right. Opposed? No? Okay. Motion passes. Okay. All right. Well, moving on, and I'll take off the screen share here. And so we're joined today by Eileen Banish, the head of our Chamber of Commerce. And I know Dave Anderson is also on here, who's our Director of Planning and Economic Development. And as we move from moving into recovery mode now, it'd be great to get an update. I know the Chamber has been extremely busy, and particularly now that more businesses in our community are going to be able to open in a couple of weeks. So I will turn it over to Eileen and Dave.
Thanks, Peggy. Dave, I'll take the lead on this, and then you could add your additional comments. But we are in discussion with our retailers and our restaurant owners in particular because of the changes that have been made to their businesses as a result of the coronavirus, but what the landscape will look like when they come back. I'm going to be conducting a Zoom call with all of our retailers later this week to discuss what people are going to do. As you know, they're all independently owned, so we're not going to have, it's not like a mall where everyone will say, okay, we will be open from 10 a.m. until 5 p.m., 6 days a week. Everyone, I think, is very independent minded and going to be cautious, in particular the clothing stores, because part of the protocol that's coming out of this is people cannot try clothing on. We do have a lot of clothing stores in town, so I don't know how they're going to handle that. But we are waiting for some more specific guidelines from the state, in particular about the checkout process at the stores. How will this be monitored? In particular, RJ Julia said, are we going to have a door in and a door out? Are we going to be counting people as they come into the stores because of the amount that's going to be allowed based on square footage? And the restaurants are going to be tough, because if you don't have adequate outdoor seating, do you really want to fire up your kitchen? So I think a lot of them are getting creative about that. I did see a few things on Facebook this weekend from Moxie, hinting that maybe they're going to be doing something different. Dave, you may know something more about this, but I don't know if restaurants, we did discuss this during the phone call last week, if restaurants are going to be allowed to expand their outdoor seating areas to make it worthwhile to be open to the public.
Eileen, I'll just comment on that. Can I comment on that point real quick? So I spoke to the Planning and Zoning Commission last Thursday during our regular meeting, and I asked the commission to give me the administrative authority to allow restaurants to either add or expand their outdoor dining options, and they unanimously approved that. So the restaurants will have the ability, if they choose, to expand their outdoor dining with my approval. I have to keep the commission in the loop, and my approval is in coordination with the health department and emergency management and all those folks. So to ensure that, obviously public safety is number one, but they will. And so Trent, if he hasn't done so already, is sending out a communication to the restaurants, and he's going to let them know that that option does exist, so they can start thinking about if they want to take advantage of that or not. And I did not discuss with Moxie what their plans are yet, so I'm sure that'll take place at some point in the future.
Great. Also, Dave, you and Ryan Duquesne and I spoke the other day about a questionnaire or some sort of form that businesses will have to complete before they're allowed to reopen.
So we actually, subsequent to that conversation, I brought that up, circled back with the long-term recovery committee that Peggy talked about earlier. And based on, I think it was really Ryan's input about, basically twofold: liability, approving people to open, and secondly is just slowing down the process or making it overly complicated for retailers and restaurants. So we elected not to do an approval process. We elected that if there's a reopen email address, if they need assistance in terms of their plans to reopen, and obviously I think the state, Lauren may be able to correct me on this, it has a, it's not an approval process, but basically you have to acknowledge receipt of all the guidelines and prior to opening. Almost like a certification that you receive the guidelines, that you're going to operate under those. So that state process is going to be really what dictates when people can open and not. And then we send out all the guidelines, and the town and the long-term recovery committee is going to be here for assistance to help people.
And I think part of the thought was that, a lot of these businesses have unique space that they have to deal with in. And so to have advice provided by the town is good. That, some businesses won't need it. It's very easy how they can organize their space, but other businesses might really want a little bit more handholding from us to help them, organize their traffic flow or whatever it's going to be. And so we wanted to at least be here to consult with them if they needed it.
Also, EDC has conducted another survey. It's still open. I believe it's up on the town website. It's been on Facebook. Thank you, Bruce, for that. I sent it out to everybody on the chamber business list, and it's a follow-up survey to the businesses, local businesses, to see how things are doing. And it's pretty simple. I think it's maybe 8 questions. And Dave, I don't know if you are aware of this or not, but is there a deadline for people to answer? I'm assuming I'll be sending up a follow-up reminder to people to fill this out.
Yeah, I'm not aware whether we set an initial deadline or not.
Okay.
I think we wanted to track the responses and then decide when to take it down.
Okay.
Hey, Peggy, the long-term recovery group has been working hard to make sure that Madison's policies are in alignment with the state's policies, or at least the current revision of the state's policies. Just maybe for the benefit of the public and the local businesses, can we just sort of restate that our goal is to be in harmony with whatever the state guidance is, so that we're not going to be burdening local business with two standards to meet?
Yes, I think ultimately that is our goal. Part of this, and maybe we could move on if we're ready. If Eileen's done, we can talk a little bit more about the committee, because it really is a committee that comes out of our emergency operations plan. And so, part of this is going to be viewing everything from the state of emergency. It's a public health emergency, so our health director is important to be involved, as well as our emergency director. But let me just see if Eileen has anything else she'd like to talk about, and then we can transition into the next discussion item on the agenda, which is.
I'm pretty much done, just echoing what was said earlier about outdoor events. We, for instance, the Chamber has 2 outdoor events in the summer. One is the Antique Show on Memorial Day weekend, which we have canceled. We're still on hold. We don't know what we're going to be doing about Beachcomber Night. That's a huge event in downtown Madison. We're rethinking of how we structure this, perhaps somehow gate it. It's a ticketed event. We have to wait for the guidelines, I guess, from Sam and also from, of course, the state to see if we can limit it to X number of people. Normally we get 600 or 700 people at this 2-hour event in downtown Madison in August. So that's still on hold. And again, we'll be basing that on the guidelines from the state and from the town. We do have a September 19th antique show on the green that will be, I believe, the only antique show that is taking place this year. Hopefully we can go through with that because it's so far away. And we had been planning a concert, an outdoor concert similar to the Woodstock concert that we had done last year for the 25th of July, and that has been canceled.
Okay, and I'm assuming all this is, you keep posted on your Chamber website, right? So people are.
We have an events calendar, and
Yeah.
the events calendar is not just Chamber events, it's other events. For instance, the Lions Club flea market is canceled. That's reflected on our calendar. The 4th of July, the new date for the parade and the fireworks are up there. The concert, as you had mentioned earlier, is still on hold, the 4th of July concert. I strongly suspect they are not going to have the concert at all. Last year they were rained out, and they're just worried about sponsorship dollars. How do they make this happen? They still have a set cost for the Wallingford Symphony Orchestra, and you can't get a discount, for instance. You can't, if the concert fails financially this year, in other words, does not bring in the required sponsorships to make this float, there may never be another one. So I think it's a better than 50% chance that they will just postpone it until 2021, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think it's unfortunate. A lot of these, events are dependent on people either purchasing tickets or sponsoring them or making donations at the event. I know they do a big pass the hat also at that concert. So, and so possibly, we should be communicating, just talking with them about other fundraising options. I mean, I know a lot of, organizations now are doing virtual fundraisers. I know the library tried it. I don't know how successful it was, but, maybe we can talk to them a little bit more about trying to do some sort of virtual fundraising, at least to sustain them so that we can get back to normal next summer, I hope. We would hate to see them cancel permanently. Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you, Eileen. And
I have another question. Hang on. Sorry.
Yep.
So, Eileen, thank you. Great update. And Dave as well. Just interested in just general flavor of the business community. Do we have any sense, just given the impact of COVID, are we at risk of losing businesses? Are people going to be closing? Do we have any sense of sort of where the landscape may go in Madison at this point?
I think a lot of it, in my opinion, a lot of it will count on, will rely on this summer. And no one has said to me, we are closing, we are going out of business. However, you have to realize that these are all small, independently owned businesses. They still have rent. Some of the landlords are offering a discount, 25% discount for a few months. Some are not. So you still have those fixed costs. You have your merchandise that you've already purchased and hopefully have already paid for, or you're on the hook for paying that. I know some people sent merchandise back, for instance, because it was obvious that they wouldn't be able to sell this. We had a retail virtual event last Saturday, not this past weekend, but the previous weekend, the second, that was quite successful. They're trepidatious about the future. They're just like many beach communities, relying on the summer people to come in. If the summer people can't come in, if the hotels and inns are not allowed to open, I'm hoping they will on June 20th for phase 2 of the state's rollout. But without those people and without the short-term rental people, the people who are coming here just for a week's vacation, it's going to be pretty dicey for them.
Yeah, thanks.
And many of them did take advantage of the PPP and the EIDL loan, so they were able to stay afloat financially. But of course, many things will have to be repaid in the future. So, love your local.
Yeah.
And I have a personal story. I'll tell you. Walker Loden is a very popular store. I don't know how they're going to do with the reopening because it's so narrow in there, you know, as far as social distancing. But they, a week and a half ago or 2 weeks ago, opened up their website, transactional website. They've never had that before. And that was on a Saturday morning. I went on, I bought a couple of things, and it was delivered to my house that afternoon. And I don't think it's because it's me, because I'm the Chamber of Commerce. It's just that's the kind of personal service you can expect from these stores. If you're ordering anything on Amazon now, Amazon Prime is now at least a week. So things are kind of
Oh, yeah.
taking a turn.
Eileen, any more plans to have additional virtual shopping like you did last weekend?
Well, we won't have to do virtual shopping in 9 days.
True.
But yes, we do plan on a Father's Day, something around Father's Day, and whenever the graduation, normally the graduation would be around Father's Day, you know, the third week of June. So yes, we're definitely planning something, because even though the stores are allowed to open to some capacity, I think shoppers may still be hesitant to come out.
Yeah.
So we're definitely planning something for the middle of June. The middle of June.
The one thing that we might see more of this summer is staycations, right? Because people are going to be not traveling as much, so we might be attracting more people in Connecticut, in kind of Rhode Island, coming down for the day trips to visit Madison. So that we might see just a shift possibly in terms of visitors that come to our community. But you know, absolutely, it's a concern, and hopefully the June 20th date will come and bring a little bit more flexibility in terms of our lodging here in town. On the other hand, there's concern about people coming from areas like New York City that still stays out there, of people coming to Madison because they're coming from hot spots, so to speak. But I'm hopeful if the trends continue, you know, by June, we wouldn't necessarily be in the same situation with the, I guess, widespread community spread issue that had been happening. So, you know, we'll just have to keep monitoring that and see where we are in June. But hopefully people in Connecticut might, you know, start discovering their own state again, which would be nice because we have a lot to offer here in Connecticut.
Well, also on a positive note, several realtors have told me that business is up, business is brisk, and a lot of it is people from New York who have decided to move here. They've come here for a safety net, and several people are buying houses now.
Nice.
Yeah.
I'd like to ask Eileen if there's anything else that the Chamber of Commerce thinks that this municipal government can do to be of help to the business community.
Oops, sorry, my phone's ringing. Al, I don't, at this point, know of something that the town can specifically do. You've already generously, like so many towns, offered an abatement for the property taxes for the landlords themselves. You would hope that they would pass that on to the tenants. I'm not so sure that that's going to happen or not, because it's just because you get not a freeze, but a deferral on your taxes doesn't mean you're necessarily going to pass that along to the people that you're renting space to. But at this point, I don't see anything specific that the municipality should be doing. Nobody's complaining that the town or the chamber aren't doing enough. People understand that we're all in this together, and keeping our fingers crossed that things will come back. My biggest fear personally is that there will be a resurgence of the virus in the fall. I keep hearing about that, and that would be catastrophic.
Yeah, I think that is a big concern. And I think that I know here in town government, frankly, we're assuming that that's likely to happen. So we just need to have our different, we haven't decided what to call them yet, but you know, how we operate depending on where we are with different things. We kind of learned through this experience at least, but it's very difficult for business that had to shut down completely. The restaurants will know how to go back to takeout only, right? But unfortunately, for some of these retailers, it's going to be tough. So, but I think having the online capabilities for more local businesses is a positive overall, I think. Well, let's move on to the long-term recovery discussion then. Eileen, thank you so much. And please, obviously, you're part of this long-term recovery committee as well. So stay on for the discussion. I do have slides here, which I'm forgetting where they are. Hold on. Let's see. Is that it? Hold on a second. There we go. All right. And so just real quickly, this recovery committee is actually something that's required that we establish under the state and the town's emergency operations plans. And I think historically this was more, focused on a hurricane or something. So trying to do this with very different kind of emergency, a pandemic, is challenging, as we well know, and something that is long-term, because it's a long-term emergency as well as a long-term recovery. So, so the town is starting to organize this, and Lauren, you're still on, right? Lauren is actually going to be our coordinator for this committee. And so Lauren, if you want to spend a few minutes just talking about the purpose of it, and then organizationally what we're doing to kind of populate it over the next week.
Sure. So as you see from the slide, we are working with a document from FEMA to help us start the process of the long-term recovery committee. The term long-term here refers to the need to reestablish a healthy, functioning community that will sustain itself over time. So the goal of our committee now is to determine what are the emergent and unmet needs of the town because of the COVID pandemic, and then how do we as a town help everyone affected. So the committee itself is going to be comprised of a very diverse group of people. There will be government representatives from the town. There will be business representatives. Eileen Banish will be one of those representatives, as Peggy said earlier. We will be having also residents involved in this process, as well as members of the faith-based community and members of civic and volunteer communities, and also social services representatives from the town as well.
Actually, that's that.
So if Peggy goes up to the next slide, you'll see here just the basic overview of the committee structure. So there's the chair, and then the coordinator, and then these 6 different types of involved participants. And each of these 6 different types will have several other people underneath them. So the committee itself is going to be rather big, but it's going to encompass every possible type of service that we might need to provide in order for us to recover fully from the pandemic.
And so we've got, like, under government, if you want to just read some of the categories under government, that would include the school systems, and I can't remember, we have the health department, and obviously our emergency operations, our emergency director would be part of this.
Peggy, what are the mechanics of getting this committee appointed?
Well, I think it just comes from the Emergency Operations Center, since this is really falling under our Emergency Operations Plan. So Sam DeBura, who's our Emergency Director, and myself, and Trent, since this is a public health emergency, our Health Director, the 3 of us have kind of worked with Lauren to start coming up with what makes sense under the different, categories here of who should sit on this committee. And so,
Who chairs it? Is that you, Peggy? Are you the chair?
Yeah, I would kind of chair it, in the sense that, I'm the, I guess, head of state, so to speak, under the emergency plan. And then, Lauren is going to be more the coordinator. She's going to be the one that's really working with all the different groups and, documenting documenting things and making sure that we're getting communications out to people. It's a little unwieldy, to be honest. We've talked about this, and Dave Anderson is also very involved in this. We had two calls last week, just smaller groups, to talk about this, because, you know, it could be 15 people on it. So how much can you get done? So I think really figuring out how to make this effective is the most important thing. Like once we get it populated, to say, okay, how are we going to make this work? Because we don't want this to be a cumbersome body. I think it's just, to me, this is just, it's more just pulling the groups together to get feedback on an as needed basis. And then, you know, brainstorming and getting information and then a way to disseminate information back out to the community. So we're kind of figuring this out, to be honest. You know, we've had 2 discussions so far, and Sam, you're on the call. I think you were on here a second ago. Sam on, Lauren?
He was on, and then he went back to being an attendee. I just transferred him back over to a panelist.
Okay. Sam, if you wouldn't mind just talking a little bit, because this is obviously a part, as emergency director, he's very involved in regional calls about these committees. I don't know if you want to spend a few minutes about what you're hearing from, you know, the regional operations command on these committees.
So the state has already had a couple meetings on this with their committee. They haven't really passed out any information yet. Obviously, this is new territory because normally we're looking at rebuilding infrastructure versus just trying to get people back to normal. And, you know, the problem is we don't know when that's going to be. So that's really the challenge of this whole long-term recovery, is we don't know when we're going to be able to open up everything and get back to life as it was, which I don't really foresee for quite a while, unfortunately. So that's really what it's about. And like Peggy said, we were trying to get input from all the groups in the town so that we can move forward with everybody's best interests and you know, present policies to go forward so that everybody's included. Nobody's left out. The people that have specific needs, you know, make sure all those needs are met, and we continue the government processes, you know, keep that flowing. And as we go forward, you know, people are going to want to still do construction and renovate stuff, and you know, they're still going to want to go out and do recreation. So we just have to get everybody's input so we can move forward at the safest way possible. That's really what this committee is going to be about.
Yeah, and I think that our goal would be, like, this week to come up with a proposed more formalized structure, as well as you know, people, populate it with people we would recommend to be on this. And I would like to circulate that to the board to get your thoughts on it, and also some ideas, because some things are very easy to say, yes, this is a good person, but others might be more difficult. We've not traditionally had representatives, for example, for faith-based organizations, you know, on a town committee, basically. So I think actually this is going to be a beneficial thing going forward, so that if we have recurrences or everything else, we've got like a communication structure now with the community, which we didn't have before, really. So I think what I'd like to do then is, you know, we'll work on this more. We've got kind of small working team working through this, and that we would roll out something to the board to look at in terms of your thoughts on, you know, the structure and who would be on the committee itself.
Peggy, can I just give a general reaction to the structure that you've got on the screen here?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you're looking for it or not, but I'm going to give it to you anyways. The government box there, I'm assuming that incorporates our schools, but just, you know, the notion here of, you know, given our school system is, you know, a huge proportion of our town budget, I would think that we'd want a standalone box just for Madison Public Schools or our school systems. It just seems like they need to be represented appropriately.
Yeah, no, I mean, we could have a separate box. I don't think this was meant as a reporting relationship, like everybody reports to the head of
No,
government.
I understand, but it just
Yeah, but yeah,
seems
we
like
could
more
have
emphasis
standalone
as
box.
opposed to rolling them up under government would make sense.
Yeah,
So they would be a branch off that government box.
that's what they are now, I think in our structure, but he's saying just add them as their own independent box, which I'm fine with that. Because I think that the schools are going to be critical, especially not only just a portion of the budget, but also the facilities in town that we have and the impact in terms of the community. This structure, by the way, Scott, was from the state.
I bet.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So,
Yeah, and I'm assuming we can tweak it and we can do what we want. So, yeah.
yeah. So
Let's make it for Madison, not for the state.
And so we'll get more on this. We've had some conversations. We just didn't feel ready to propose anything formal today. So so there'll be more to come on this. And I think that, like we said, this is going to be a longer term type of committee that will be around for months, possibly till the end of the year, just depending on how things evolve. I think if we get it right and organized well, it could be a resource so that if we do have resurgences coming, we've kind of got a great channel and structure now to get things out to the public. So
I just wanted to add one more thing on the, so on the May 20th opening, like we did finalize that document over the weekend. I just pushed it out, and there is a self-certification process through the state. The state has not put the link up yet, but the link is going to be on that that page that they put out for the May 20th opening with all their facts and information in the guidelines that they put up. So there is a process for all these businesses to self-certify before they open up on May 20th.
Okay, great.
So, Sam, I have a thought about that document. The businesses are going to have to go through this process, and I think that's the right thing for them to do. We probably should come up with a cheat sheet for consumers. For instance, businesses are going to be required to ensure that all the patrons have face masks on, right? I was in a local business this weekend, and I was the only one wearing a face mask.
Really?
And I think that it's important that we let the public know that businesses are going to be operating under state rules, and that it's in everybody's best interest if they comply. I just don't want to see a situation where a shop owner confronts a patron because they're not complying with a rule that the state is asking the shop owner to comply, to do.
Yeah, Bruce, that's a good idea, and it's been happening around the country. And the unfortunate part about this whole thing is that we're at war with an invisible enemy, and everybody's not really taking it seriously enough to say that this could be anywhere. And that's really what the problem is. And people, because they don't see it, they don't really recognize the danger of what's going on out there.
Yeah, and I think people are getting fatigued as well.
Well, we all are.
Starting to be a little fatalistic about it.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, and part of that, there's a public education piece, and maybe, there's something that we should send out to all the businesses that they should post in their windows, that these are the guidelines to access our store, and everybody has the same thing, that they post on their door or on their window that comes from the town. With our emblem on it, so that's a good idea. We can talk more about some of that stuff, Sam, too, to send out.
Yep, absolutely.
So lots more to come. This will be a busy couple of weeks because not only dealing with businesses open, we're dealing with nicer weather and people wanting to use town facilities more, and town government, being a little more accessible starting towards the end of this month. So it's going to be a busy month. So are we good moving on to the next agenda item? Any more questions? No? Okay, great. All right, thanks a lot, Sam. And
yeah, I have to jump off and go on.
Yeah, I know we got EOC. Okay, great, thank you. All right, I think really we just have next item up on the agenda is We have a resignation from Helen Berlin from the Ad Hoc Government Study Committee. So can I have a motion to approve Helen Berlin's resignation?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, and unfortunately, Helen, just with all the things going on with COVID and everything, has other things she has to prioritize, but we appreciate her service. And so we do have a spot open on that committee. So all in favor of accepting the resignation, say aye.
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 Thank you. All right, thank you, Helen, for all your efforts. Next item is tax abatements.
There are none.
Oh, none? Okay. Great.
Fast agenda item. Nice.
Yeah, moving on, citizen comments. Any more citizens' comments?
So for any citizens that would like to make comment, you can do so by raising your hand. I will call on you to speak and you will need to state your first and last name and address for the record. I don't see anyone with their hand raised now, but I will tell you that you received public comment from Justin Murphy via email last week. His comment states, will the governor's executive order canceling in-person school for the balance of the year result in any change to his previous executive order to maintain education-related employment until the end of the school year? For example, busing will now not be needed for the balance of the year. His other question, which is in the Q&A, this is also again from Justin Murphy. He says, regarding beach passes, do you need to provide copies of both registration and tax bill or just one? I will send that to Scott Erskine after the meeting and ask him to verify that information. And then he has a second comment in the Q&A that says he is offering a suggestion that the meeting agendas are where they've always been on the website. Adding the Zoom link to the agenda document may be the easiest fix.
Yeah, maybe just I'm not addressing his comment, but just the one on the schools, maybe just ask, or we could forward it to the Board of Education.
Yep.
Yeah, that's
Seems
definitely
to be
gonna
more in
be
their
a,
space.
well, and it's also something that will have to remains to be seen depending on what the governor says. I think we don't know yet. We don't have an answer to that. My understanding is busing still paid for through the end of the calendar year or academic year.
Oh, yeah.
So, okay. I guess then may I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All right, all in favor. Great. All right, thank you
Aye.
very much.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Bye-bye.
All right.